in real business. Now, today we're talking about the tech sector. So, we're reporting from Broad Street. The world of apps and software as a service, that sector is growing worldwide, but more so in a few countries, including Nigeria. And recently, we've seen huge investment in some of Nigeria's more successful tech company. Our business hard fact today is that Flutterwave just announced a $170 million investment, which has raised its valuation to over $1 billion. It's huge news. It's big news worldwide. Yet another unicorn is born. And of course, this new investment has positioned Flutterwave to be even more of a global player than it already was. But it is also a good sign for the Nigerian tech sector in general. And that's what we want to talk about today. We're looking at how the tech sector got here and what the next chapter could look like and what is needed for them to get there. Joining me to talk about this is somebody who understands the tech sector intimately. She's the co-founder of First Check Africa. First Check Africa is an angel fund investing in the sector. And her name is Eloho Omame. Eloho, thank you so much for joining us on Hard Facts today.
Hi, Sandra. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on the show. Lagos, as we talk, we want to hear from you as well. What do you think is behind the success and growth of the Nigerian tech sector? If you work in tech, you have to give me a call. I want to learn from you today. Give me a call and tell us what you do. Tell us how you got started. If you want to learn more about tech, you've got questions. I've got a guru on the show today, so please call her and ask her all the questions you want to ask her. She's an investor, so maybe ask her about that. That could help you. The number to call is 0700-993-993. So, Eloho, let's start with the Flutterwave deal. Before we talk about the sector in general, let's start with that. We keep seeing the term unicorn used to describe Flutterwave. What's a unicorn for those who don't know? And now remember what I said in the beginning, we don't talk up here. So, let's keep it very,
A unicorn, very simply, is a company it's a technology company. Right? Mm-hmm. So it's a tech business. So usually it's a software company, but certainly it's a tech or tech-enabled company that is valued at $1 billion or more. And I use that word technology company very specifically and a startup very specifically, putting aside, sometimes people conflate startup to mean something that is new. But of course, we see, some people still refer to Uber as a startup. Some people still refer to Stripe, which is a 95 billion company as of last week, as a startup. But really, the notion of a startup really means high growth technology company in this context. And a unicorn is a company that hits that $1 billion mark. That $1 billion mark being significant because at the time when the phrase unicorn was coined, and for now I forget the name of the woman that did the work in which she sort of, coined this phrase. But basically what she was saying was that those big exits where the investors, the VCs, were going to make these massive returns on their capital, and there were few and far between. And we all know that a unicorn is a mythical creature, right? It looks like a horse with a horn. It really exists. So the idea is unicorns are few and far between. Of course, over time, as the sector globally has developed, as more and more capital has flown into it, of course, most tech companies are not unicorns. But I think at the time when she did the work, there were less than 10 unicorns globally. And today they're probably, knocking on about 100 across the different markets. I suppose Flutterwave as a unicorn is significant because its story is quite unique. I think it's probably the third or fourth African company, we can say, that African technology company that I've had valued. So we're 3 out of those, so apart from Jumia, have been a private company settings and listed companies. But the difference, I suppose, and the reason so many are excited about Flutterwave is that value has been created in 5 years. So JB, his team, started company years ago. And they've grown to unit status. This is their third or fourth in round. This is Series C. And they have, a quote-unquote first African company that has sort of, back to that high growth analogy, right? To grow to $1 billion of value a year, 5 years. If you think of other companies valued at $1 billion, think of some of our richest company on our stock exchange in Nigeria. invested for 20 years. It took them, significantly longer than test to reach that dollar valuation. But they've been listed for of 20 years. You're planning to significantly longer than years to reach that vision. That's what unicorn is, technically a hybrid.
Oh, so a lot of what you were saying for the past say 1 minute, 1 minute 30 seconds, were blurring. You sounded kind of like you were inside water. So I'm guessing the network dropped off there. I'm talking to Eloho via Zoom, so you can actually watch Lagos. You're watching live via Facebook and YouTube. Facebook is Nigeria Info 99.3. YouTube is Nigeria Info FM. But yes, Eloho was taking us through a step-by-step process of what exactly a unicorn is. So you want to
sound sorry, can you I may hear now because I can hear now like you're water. I want to know if you can hear okay. And if seeing off my video for a few minutes.
So it's still sounding like that. It's still sounding like you're in water. I don't know if it's from my end or it's from your end.
Okay, if you don't mind, let me keep camera off for a couple of minutes while that resolves.
And see if that works. Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's try that. Lagos, if you just joined the show, you're listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. And we've got Eloho Omame on the show with us. She is the co-founder of First Check Africa, an angel fund investing in the tech sector here in Nigeria. Let's talk about valuations. Can you teach us about that? We're saying Flutterwave is worth $1 billion, but the investment was actually 170 million. So, our internet service provider has had a downtime all day today. I even sent out a tweet and I was like, what's happening? Will you people give me back this day? Because you say 30 days validity, right? And you have like a downtime once a week or twice a week. So are you going to give me back those days that you had a downtime? They didn't address that chat, but they asked me for my address so that they'll see what they can do. They haven't done anything because my internet is still down. So it's a really terrible day for internet service. We do hope Eloho Zone can get better. But we have Nigerians who are trying to call into the show. So I'm guessing they've got questions about how this works exactly, or maybe they work in tech. Because remember I said, if you work in tech, I want to hear from you. If you have ideas about what is behind the success and growth of the Nigerian tech sector, I want to hear from you as well. I'm also curious about what questions you may have about the tech business environment. Perhaps you want to invest, perhaps you want to go into it, you want to learn how to code, you want to learn how to manage product, because I know there's like such a big market for product managers now. And you just have general questions about the sector. You can give us a call and ask a few questions just while Eloho is trying to fix her internet service. 99.3, hello.
Yeah, good evening, Sandra.
Good evening. What's your name?
I'm Olatunde Felix.
Good to have you on the show. So, which is it for you? Tech sector, trying to join, etc., etc.
Yeah, I'm already there, but not fully. Just like maybe 20%. So I currently run a platform where people do a bit of saving, but not fully. So I'm so excited when I heard about you bringing her on the show this evening.
Yeah.
So my question is that how do I transform my platform where I currently have like 20% fintech into full fintech, the likes of Paystack and the rest of other fintech platforms that
I like this for a couple of minutes whilst I try and
okay, so let me get that question again. Say that again.
Yeah, my question is that I currently have a platform where I do like 20% fintech. I mean, I usually receive a bit of savings. They usually buy some things, so they have like a wallet.
Right.
Yeah, so but I really want to go into post-tech fintech where people can do a target savings, and from there they can do a bit of other things like that.
Right.
So I really want to know how to transform that. And currently, I don't have full knowledge about that. So I'm currently looking out on, hearing from her how I can get co-founder or an investor that could partner so I can transform that.
Okay.
And on the platform, I currently have about more than 3,005 subscribers already on. So I'm looking at
Don't
using
start
those.
selling your market on my show. You have to pay for that
Oh, sorry
advertising.
about that.
But all right, thank you very much for calling. We've got Aloha back on the line now. So let's try this way. Unfortunately, you won't see her face for a bit, but we'll try and get her to switch on her camera eventually if the network allows. But yes, and talk to us about valuations. Talk to us about Flutterwave being worth $1 billion. The investment was actually 170 million. So how did that translate to $1 billion valuation? Oh no.
Yeah. So a bit better. Promise. I'm happy
No, the sound isn't working either.
to Nigeria. I'm having to sort out what that called.
Oh no. Oh no.
Sandra, I'm internet. I'm in locations. No, oh no.
No.
Is this better?
This is working now.
Okay, good. I'll stay here.
All right, good.
Right. I'm stay here. Good. Okay. So valuations, how do they work? I mean, basically, Flutterwave, its valuation is
We've lost you again.
tracking pretty
We've lost you again.
consistently with. Okay, hear me now. Tell me when you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Good. I've literally had to go out onto the street to get internet because I don't know what's going on today.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. So if you can hear me now, no worries. If you can hear me now, the way valuations work, basically, of course, these companies are being valued in a private setting, so they're being valued by venture capitalists and early stage investors who believe that there's a lot more growth ahead of the companies. If you think about just even the proposition that Flutterwave is, and think about the problem that they're trying to solve, which is payments across Africa. The Nigerian market in and of itself clearly is a pretty big market. And connecting Nigerian payments to payments within and off the continent is a big market opportunity. So in some respects, in a lot of the valuation reflects the market opportunity that's ahead of Flutterwave in terms of what they're building. The other thing that, of course, the valuation will reflect is the stage of the company. I don't know Flutterwave's numbers intimately, so I can't speak to the specifics of the kinds of volumes that they're doing.
Right.
But if you just think about the fundamentals of the way that valuation works, typically there are benchmarks and there are anchors, which we base on the volume of transactions, for example, that Flutterwave is doing today, and what comparable companies, for example, I mentioned a company like Stripe. There are a bunch of other payments companies, Adyen, etc., even Visa and MasterCard, what their own valuations look like relative to the volume of payments transactions that they're doing. And all of that kind of analysis is then reflected into how one then values Flutterwave. So really simple math. If you have a company like a Visa or a MasterCard that is being valued at, 20 times what we call earnings before EBITDA, right? Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily where the valuation multiple is, but that's what EBITDA number was. Multiply that by 20 times. You would make a couple of adjustments for things like Visa is global, Flutterwave is Africa only, and you would sort of end up in a valuation that was some form of comparable to that. At a stage, company of Flutterwave's stage, the valuations at this point start to reflect really, things like trading multiples of its global global comparable peers. And so when they say that they've raised 170 million, but they are valued at $1 billion, what that means is that 170 million of capital came in. So it came in, but on a valuation of $1 billion. So that means the total equity or the total shares of the company that have been issued that are in various hands at this point of the founders, of the venture capitalists, that total equity together in aggregate is worth $1 billion, but they raised 170 of cash that came in. Now, my suspicion is that the billion includes the 170, if you see what I mean. I might be wrong. My suspicion is that billion is what we call a post-money valuation. I couldn't see, some of the press wasn't specific. But basically what it means is that the new cash if that is the case, what it would mean is that the new cash of 170 that they have just gained in exchange for issuing some more shares, in combination with the shares that were already issued, is worth $1 billion, or is valued by the market market at $1 billion today. And like I said, it's a pretty significant achievement. And it's exactly the kind of track record that our ecosystem needs to start to put points on the board with regards to, the value that these tech startups are creating.
Right. We've been seeing more of these large deals recently. I mean, we also saw Stripe. You've mentioned that several times, acquiring Paystack for about $200 million. And the question on a lot of people's minds, mine inclusive, is what is attracting all of this money, this global money, into the Nigerian tech sector?
I think a lot of so the truth is global money has been flowing to the Nigerian tech sector for over a decade now. Interestingly, one of the new investors into Flutterwave is a fund called Tiger Global, which is a pretty well-known, successful global VC fund that tends to come in at sort of this stage, just before what we call the growth stage of a business. But Tiger Global actually invested in a couple of some of those early tech businesses. I believe they were an investor in Iroko, for example, many years ago. And so this idea of global capital, global tech capital, global capital flowing into the tech sector has been the case for a while. I think the quantum of capital is now starting to really accelerate. But the reason that interest has been there for a while is because, back to what I said about the market, right? In many ways, everyone likes to talk about all the reasons why Nigeria is a difficult place to invest in, and there is merit to some of that discussion. But at the end of the day, it is sub-Saharan Africa's largest market by many, many indications. And I think that within the global investor community, there is very much this sense, two senses. One, that if you're going to make, so don't forget also VCs want to write a check and then make many multiples of that back on their investment. And the way that you do that is by looking for big market opportunities, right? You look for big market opportunities. You look for opportunities that are going to be more scalable, more quickly. And scale has everything to do with, first of all, even the size of the whole market and the size of that opportunity. But also when you then have a player that is saying, like, Africa is quite a fragmented market. So many companies will need to grow by sort of consolidating across markets. But you don't start that journey towards scale and what have you by starting in very, very small markets. So in very many ways, Nigeria is really interesting for global VC. The truth is, Egypt is also very interesting for a similar reason. Kenya is interesting as an East Africa bloc because, again, there's that sort of chunky opportunity to invest. And of course, the East African community is a little bit more fungible than the rest of the continent. And then South Africa tends to stand a little bit apart. But when you think about where global capital is going in Africa, it tends to be those four real kind of pivot points. And the reason for that is people looking for scale opportunities to deploy capital in ways that they're going to make massive returns over time.
At the same time, though, there's the question about whether this investor enthusiasm will extend beyond payments in particular and fintech in general, or e-commerce if you add Jumia to the equation. I mean, is the Nigerian tech sector ripe for growth beyond fintech?
It's one of those things where I actually am quite comfortable with the idea that at the moment a lot of the capital that is coming into fintech, and I'll tell you why. I think that it is important that if you're going to build some of these scale propositions, it's important that the rails, right, that those things are going to sit upon are right. I remember 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when we were all talking about e-commerce in Nigeria, and there were 2 or 3 significant challenges that those companies were trying to solve at the time. And I think only now, for example, with the emergence of a business like Flutterwave, even of course Paystack, only now has some of those problems been solved. So you really have to say to yourself, and by those problems, I mean things like payments, I mean things like logistics, last mile delivery. And you wonder to yourself, if those companies were starting today, right? What would their trajectories look like, and might that be different? Because it's one thing when you're trying to build an e-commerce business. It's quite another thing when you're also trying to build an in-house payment solution. You're also trying to build an in-house logistics solution. And I think that is the challenge that, frankly, any entrepreneur at any scale will tell you that they face in Nigeria. I think sometimes it's important that the layer products are in place, and that then people can then build much more across much more adjacent sectors on top of of that. That said, you are seeing flows of capital into other non-fintechs. Because you're absolutely right that the bulk of the capital is going into fintech. And I think it's because payments is a fundamental problem that needs to be solved.
Right.
As much as we say there's so much capital going into fintech, think about the everyday payments challenges that you and I still have, right? We still have everyday payments challenges. So it's clear that that problem still needs to be solved. And when it is solved at scale, I think what you'll see is that, the layers of other companies that can be built on top of it, and can be credibly built on top of it, where investors believe that, look, this thing can actually really scale because the founder is not distracted, for example, by trying to resolve payments or logistics issues. I think you'll start to also then see a shift of capital towards these other sectors. I think what we see today is just a reflection of the fact that this problem is so fundamental to our ability to, we're talking about online businesses, right? You have to be able to pay. And I think once that gets solved, I will see a shift of the capital. We'll see it will just open up so many other sectors.
What I'm imagining is the first person who will figure out a way to get across to the long tail. Not the Nigerians who are banked and who can get online to shop for things, but the Nigerians who are using feature phones, the Nigerians who do not know how to work a laptop, do not know how to go online and shop for anything and pay for anything. The fintech who figures that out. Oh my God.
I think you're right. It's a really, really interesting opportunity, and it's a really, really big problem to solve. And so far, it's one that is, to your points, for example, around feature phones. So far, it's one that is, you're right that a lot of the technology is web, or it is, app based. And we still haven't figured out how to then sort of solve it for people who are otherwise, I don't want to say completely financially excluded, but, kind of in this sort of, less included, I guess, than you or I might. And you're right, that really opens up the market quite massively.
Right.
And to be honest, I think that challenge also reflects sometimes when we see, you and I know that the penetration in fintech and payments is not nearly where we can say that, the more significant portion of Nigerians are included.
Like M-Pesa, for instance.
Right, but you still see a lot of people or fintechs who will say, okay, so after Nigeria, I'm going to Ghana, I'm going to, right? Because you're right, there is this kind of focus on the people who are more formally included in that way. And hopefully, it gets solved. So that's why you see the CBN, licensing agent, super agent network, and agent banking, and all of these things, and insisting that the banks deploy into some of these areas, bringing in the mobile operators, because it is a massive opportunity. Now, will it be solved by a classic startup? I don't know. But when it is solved, does it open up the tech market as a whole? I believe so.
Lagos, if you just joined the show, we're having an amazing conversation with Eloho Omame. Eloho is the co-founder of First Check Africa. They are an angel fund investing in the sector. They're doing amazing work with women, by the way, that we'll get into eventually. But today we're talking about what's next for Nigeria's tech sector. This is a business show. You know this by now. On Balogun and Broad, we take a look at business stories, the biggest stories of the day, and how they affect your business, how they affect your life, because you're the ones who are working for these businesses. You own these businesses. You are the real ones who are doing these businesses. And so it's nice to have a show where you can listen to these conversations and understand what impact they hold for you in real time. Now, today, we're starting with Flutterwave, but we're extending into the tech sector entirely. And now we need to take a long break. But after this break, we'll talk about the ecosystem and how you can get involved. I am Sandra Ezekwesili. Don't go away.
Rent Money will lend you up to 6 million naira in 24 hours for business or personal needs. So, for loans of up to 6 million naira, visit rentmoney.com or call 0700 5500. Call us now. Our phone lines are open till 11 p.m. Mondays to Fridays. Need money? Rent Money.
Everybody get in mission. Everybody get in mission. Something we go set in motion. Just stay in control like super commando. No go dead on yourself. Super commando. Energy drink where you need on the go. Super commando. Oh yeah, get it out.
Conquer your daily hustle with Super Commando Energy Drink. Available in plastic bottle, glass bottle, and can. Get energized to keep going all day, every day. Super Commando Energy Drink. Fire on.
Which number be this? Hello?
Hello, good evening. I want to introduce you to New Care Good Extract. Now, package you could give you correct artificial nails, French tips, and even the one will be like all those nails where they use fillings do. If you buy phone,
You know a man you call? No be una fault. If no be this Palasa phone, I don't sabi who they call no pick am.
No matter your phone, whether you get data or not, you sabi who they call. Turn up Kulele Mind with MTN who they call. Now 5 naira per day and 15 naira per month. Dial star 5058 ash. Make you enjoy.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Hey guys, this is your boy Pato Rankin, aka What Best. As World Remit's brand ambassador, I'm here to tell you about receiving money from your fam and friends abroad.
I just can't wait for you to bring your body.
You can now receive money in US dollars into your bank account or as a cash pickup. How good is that? Remember, World Remit is the better way to send and receive money. Let's go. Where is it?
Before now, getting a good HMO that works perfectly for my staff was a lot of hassle. Many HMOs come with cumbersome registration. It gets worse when my staff come back to complain about the terrible service they get from these HMOs. I decided to give Reliance HMO a try based on glowing recommendations I received from my HR colleagues, and I was not disappointed. I was able to register all 100 staff in 5 minutes. I have access to a 24-hour responsive helpline and an account manager that helps me with any issue. My staff raves about the premium service they receive from Reliance HMO. They especially love the access to gym, spa, dental care, and the hospital roaming. I no longer worry myself about issues concerning HMO. Reliance HMO does that for me. I will recommend them any day.
Visit reliancehmo.com/corporate or call 0700-7354-2623 to get a quote for your company and start enjoying reliable healthcare today. Reliance HMO. You can rely on us.
Hey Tolu, how are you?
I'm pushing, really stressed. Can't wait for the Easter break.
Oh yeah? Any plans?
I'm sleeping in. The kids will be with my mom. I need to rest.
Tolu, always sleeping. Come out with us. Let's have a relaxing and exciting family weekend getaway at Eco Hotel's Hippity Hoppity Easter.
Really? I missed out on the tropical Christmas last year. I cannot sleep on this, so what do I do? Hoppy and the kids are in for a huge surprise.
Be like Tolu. Refuse to sleep on this exciting and fun-filled Easter celebration brought to you by Eco Hotels and Suites. Remember, we are observing all COVID-19 prevention protocols, so only limited packages are up for grabs. Hurry now and get a package for your family. For details, please call 0808-057-1838 or 0806-588-1783. The Hippity Hoppity Easter at Eco Hotels and Suites, powered by Maltina.
Eco Hotels and Suites, nesting international standards with African hospitality.
The tantalizing tunes of the guitar, the sensational blare of the saxophone, the rhythmic beating of the drums, and let's not forget the enchanted and gifted vocals. Yes, I can already hear the sound of greatness as Nigerian Idol returns with a bang.
Yes, the Nigerian Idol is back with a bang to bring you amazing vocals from all around the country. Who will be the next idol? Tune in to catch all the audition drama from the 14th of March on DSTV channel 198 and GoTV channel 29. And then join IK and the judges for the main show premiere on the 28th of March on Africa Magic Showcase, Urban and Family at 7 p.m. Proudly sponsored by Biggie Drinks.
For area, Then they call me Baba 22. If you look my JC number 22, my keke plate number encore 22, my house number, of course, I decack for number 22. But you sabi wetin really make them they call me Baba 22? Now because I dey groove 22 times bonus on top every recharge.
Yes, so if you don't take when you use your glow line, reactivate now, make you begin enjoy your own Ogbonge 22 times bonus on top every recharge. It dey pay to reactivate your glow line.
Unlimited.
Are you a resident in Lagos? Do you own a business or are you unemployed? Learn how to access and manage resources for your business. Listen to The Portal, on 99.3 Nigeria Info every Saturday from 11 a.m. as we discuss employability, funding, business management, working business strategies, and so on. You will learn from business experts, captains of the industry, and young entrepreneurs. The Portal every Saturday from 11 a.m. Brought to you by 99.3 Nigeria Info in partnership with the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund.
Mama Shade, this your pikin no well. Make you take am go hospital now.
My sister, na big money be that too.
Which big money? You never hear about LSHS Ilera Eko?
Ilera Eko? Wetin be that?
Lagos Health is our wealth. Ilera Eko.
Now, true, Lagos State Health Management Agency, LASHMA, don't bring correct healthcare plan. Well, make sense for your domot. It does apply healthcare where your hand feel rich. This one, now for everybody where they live inside Lagos State. They call them a Leraco, whether you be civil servant, small private business owner, trade professional, or even market man or woman. So far you they live inside Lagos. This better now for you.
Make you register with Ilera branded agents or outlets where you see Ilera logo.
Pay 40,000 naira every year for family package or 8,500 naira every year for one person. Make you begin enjoy with the mind. For more information, call 0700 Ilera or 0800 Ask Lashma or make you visit www.lashma.com.
Lagos Health is our
I have to read for my exams, but I feel so sleepy.
Hey, drink Amber.
Omo, this work, I tire gone.
Alaye, you no go drink Amber.
I'm not sure I can meet that deadline.
You can't, Joe. Drink Amber.
This traffic na die, oh. Guy, not to drink Amber.
That's right. With 1 can of Amber energy drink, you get your daily recommended dose of nutrients, vitamins, amino acids, citric acid, and a blend of guarana, a natural caffeine to give that huge rush of energy to get you through your day. And don't forget that refreshingly premium taste that is sure to blow your mind.
Last, wahala for uno dey drink Amber, oh.
Amber is proudly Niger and available in stores near you. Amber energy drink. Stimulate the energy in you.
Guy, you don't see that new funny video for Twitter? That one with the boy. You mean this one? What of that brother Shaggy News Kitty? Where they circulate WhatsApp? This one. What of that meme? Where the guy?
When mouth open like this, ba?
Mr. Know It All. Which data you they use know all these things?
Now, Glow new data plans get me. Are you serious? With just 50 naira, and they get 50 MB. And with just 100 naira, and they get 150 MB. We have to use chat or browse on top Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, and even Snapchat. Don't dull yourself, oh. Dial star 777 hash now. Make you begin the browse, they go.
Glow Unlimited.
Are you a young creative designer? Do you love culture? Tune in to The Ethical Fashion Show every Friday to discover how sustainable fashion trends are leading development of African design talents. The Ethical Fashion Show every Friday, 12:15 p.m. on your number one station for talk, 99.3 Nigeria Info. Brought to you by Ethical Fashion Initiative. 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Your number one station for talk. Let's talk. If you earn a living, you probably own a business, work for one, or want to start one. Business is central to your life. But do most business shows really speak to you?
Today on the show, the $1 billion valuation of
Balogun and Broad does. Let's talk about the stock market and Alaba market. Let's talk about share IPOs and diesel supply LPOs. Let's talk about Broad Street.
The Nigerian Stock Exchange recorded an all-time high of...
And Balogun Street.
The maximum I will spend on fuel to and fro was 4,000.
On Balogun and Broad, Wednesdays at 5.
This is the business show for people who are doing real business. I always say we don't talk up here, and my guest took that message to heart, and she's done her best to explain these terms to you as simply as possible. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. This is Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info Lagos. What do you think is behind the success and growth of the Nigerian tech sector? If you work in tech, you have to call and tell us how you got started. Tell us what you do, how you got started. If you want to learn more about the tech business environment, you can also call in with questions for Eloho Omame. Eloho Omame is the co-founder of First Check Africa. They are an angel fund investing in the tech sector, and she's been talking to us about that world. You know, we started off with talking about what a unicorn is, and then we talked about what a valuation is all about, and then we talked about the success. Why are these people pouring money into the Nigerian market? And she gave us a very, very fair explanation as to why. And then we also talked about if the Nigerian tech sector is ripe for growth beyond fintech, and she seems to think so. Now let's talk about the ecosystem itself. There's never any guarantee that any country or city will be a booming tech sector. How come Nigeria, and Lagos in particular, has turned out to be fertile ground for it? What factors do you credit for this, Eloho?
It's a range of things. I think that the market certainly has the size of the potential market opportunity, and I think a lot of people count a couple of things in sort of coming to that math, right? One is just the population, the size that we have, and if you look at the continent as a whole, Nigeria is obviously a significant market. Two, I think there's the fact that there are so many glaring opportunities for technology to improve all of our lives, right? And so there is opportunities, quote unquote, to build and solve problems by leveraging technology as well. I think another thing that has made our ecosystem successful is the fact that it had some very early protagonists that were local, and that really sort of did a great job, I think, of putting the Nigerian and the African ecosystem, or the African tech ecosystems, on, as part of a global conversation. I think leveraging and springboarding off all the things I've talked about. So the market is big. There's so many opportunities to use technology to solve problems, etc. And that is sort of, where you saw some of those early forays of global technology investors into Nigeria, into Kenya, into South Africa, etc. Because that narrative and that advocacy was strong. I think another thing that has also helped Nigeria as a whole is even, think about some of the very early companies, not very early, but think about a business like Andela, right? That basically helped to increase capacity and tech talent within Nigeria for a global market, yes, but of course that mushrooming into helping to develop technology talent within Nigeria and across Africa as well. So I think in many ways, Nigeria also now is starting to be a source of technology talent for other locations as well, and that in and of itself is helping to kind of keep Nigeria relevant in a global conversation. One small example, there was a company, I won't mention the company because the founder ended up in trouble, but it was a US company on Twitter about 2 weeks ago. He ended up sort of retweeted something and upset a lot of people. But anyway, a US company on Twitter a couple of weeks ago. And I remember he was making some reference to hiring and hiring certain talent. And I found it really, really interesting that there were Nigerian developers that were part of that conversation, where they were saying, yep, we were hired by him in the early days and we helped to build his app, which is now sort of making waves in the US. And I think that was a testament to the fact that our developers really are they have, they're getting increasing recognition for the great work that they're doing as well. So I think all of those things make our technology ecosystem interesting and help to sort of keep us relevant at a global level. I think our ecosystem is still very small. We throw these numbers around, but they're really small. I think last year, less than $1 billion came into tech startups in Africa. $1 billion sounds like a lot until you remember that $1 billion, Flutterwave is valued at more than the money that came into the entire tech ecosystem, for example. $1 billion sounds like a lot until you remember that, several, a few hundred times that are what go into the US as a single market, for example. I think that reflects in some ways the maturity of the US tech ecosystem, or Silicon Valley, I suppose, more specifically, versus Nigeria / Africa. But so let's not get carried away. It's not the volume of capital. There's so much more capital that can and should flow into Nigeria, I think, so that we can build some of these technology businesses. But those are the reasons that I think, the reasons I've articulated are the reasons that I think that we are seeing that global conversation that includes Nigeria, which is a fantastic thing.
But there's still a physical bottleneck at the port, right? So we've got only one functional physical gate, right? So, what more do you think could be happening there to bring in more of that money?
Gosh, so I think there's a bunch of bottlenecks to business in Nigeria. There's a bunch of bottlenecks to innovation. There's a bunch of bottlenecks to capital. And I think that, I would say those are the sort of the three big buckets that are worth thinking about when we say what more could happen. So for example, I think even the way that capital flows, our capital controls, the way that capital flows in and out of Nigeria, the fact that we have a fixed or a managed exchange rate situation or managed exchange rate, market, means that, it's from a capital perspective, there are frictions to the ability and the free flowing of capital. I think that even at the very early stages as well, the fact that even if you think about the way technology investing works, right? What should typically happen is some of the very, very early companies where you have a founder who has a bit of an idea and they're testing it, and maybe one day it grows to become a Flutterwave. Who should fund that kind of business? It's really not a VC. It should be what we call angel investors, who are individuals, high net worth individuals, etc., who are going to take the risk. It should be people's savings. It should be what we call friends and family. And again, if you think about the even little things like the savings rate, the investment rate in Nigeria, it means that it's actually quite hard as a startup founder to raise that very early capital, unless you're quite privileged and you have access to pools of capital that allow you to do that. So from the capital side, I think there's a couple of things that need to get solved. There's a whole conversation that is happening around, are there ways in which you can incentivize more angel investing into the tech ecosystem by even looking at things like tax, the way that, people get tax rebates, for example, etc. Are there different schemes and incentives that can be put in place to help to pull private capital into the very early stages? But the point I'm trying to make more generally is the capital. There are a bunch of bottlenecks even in the capital side. When you talk about the ports and the infrastructural bottlenecks, you're absolutely right. There are bottlenecks at the ports, and that needs to be resolved.
Okay, I think our network has done what our network does best, and we're going to try and solve that particular problem. Hopefully, solve it permanently once and for all. It's 15 minutes until it's 5 o'clock. We have Eloho back. Eloho, before the network goes off again, I want to talk about your baby, because you've been talking about angel investing again and again. So let's talk about First Check Africa. What do you do?
Okay. So First Check Africa, we started First Check. So I started First Check with Manda, who's called Odun Ewini. She's a woman, and she's also one of PiggyVest. And we started First Check we announced it in January, but we've been talking about it for a couple of months before then. And we call ourselves early believers for women in tech. And it basically means, I spoke earlier about ideation capital and angel money, etc. Fundamentally, we're an angel fund for women in tech, because we think we can see that there's a diversity issue around capital for women in tech. There's a general financing gap for women all over the world, out in and outside of tech. I think globally, the numbers are something like less than 5% of capital. I think it's less than 2% of capital is in the technology space, goes into women and women-led tech startups. We also saw a pandemic that was quite hurtful to women, in that the number of women that were attracting capital through the pandemic was lower globally. And also, of course, women then also had to juggle this whole working from home dynamic. And you saw, unemployment, etc., significantly affected women. So in any event, there's certainly a capital gap that women face in and outside of tech. The World Bank says it's about $42 billion or so globally, in Africa, of capital that women need for their companies, but they cannot find. In technology, the number will be smaller than that. At first check, what we're doing is we're being early believers. So we're saying, you know what, we focus on women and what we call diverse teams. So tech teams where one of the co-founders at least is a woman, where you have a technology idea, you have an early startup, and you just want I guess, a friendly angel fund to consider investing in your startup. Because the reality is women face a bunch of barriers to their ability to raise capital, some of which is things like just bias, some of which is things like struggling to sort of connect with the networks of VCs and angel investors, that because, you know, those networks tend to be very male dominated. Some of it is things like they're facing investors and they're pitching to investors who don't necessarily sometimes even empathize with the product, or don't necessarily, I don't know, sometimes it's easier to pitch to a woman. So we're saying, you know, if we can stand in the gap and try and sort of resolve some of these issues for women by putting our own capital to play. And then also, more importantly, frankly, than our own capital, is bringing our networks to bear. So giving women what we call this early belief ideation capital to build a tech startup, because we think technology companies are the future. If you can build what we call an MVP, which is a minimum viable product with our capital over a 3 to 6 month period, we will then leverage all of our networks within the tech ecosystem, within an investor community that we're building at the moment, and basically help those women then hopefully go on to raise what we call a seed round. Seed rounds tend to be much bigger. Seed rounds, I guess you can have a seed round as small as $100,000. Today, I think you're starting to see seed rounds in Nigeria, Africa, that start to look like $1 million. Kuda Bank even raised a seed round of $10 million. But for women, the story has been very different. So for women, their seed rounds have been significantly smaller. For women, less than 1 in 10 women that have raised capital over the last 10 years has actually managed to, in aggregate, raise more than $1 million. And you say that in an environment where men are raising seed rounds of $1 million. So, and that's one round. So we want to sort of help with this early belief, early ideation capital, help women build what we call these minimum viable products that prove that this is a scalable, backable tech venture, and then work with them using our own networks, our own leverage to help them access significant seed rounds. So that's first check. And we launched in January.
All right. So something's going on. I don't know what it is with our meeting, but it looks like it's going to bump you out in a bit. So you have to join again. I'm going to send you a link that allows you to join back in. In the meantime, it gives us time to take calls from people who are trying to call into the show. The tech guys are trying to figure out that problem, because I want Aloha back. I need to ask Aloha about tech culture. You know, is tech culture changing investor culture? Because it seems to me like investing is becoming more democratic, more inclusive, you know, with techniques like crowdfunding, for instance, right? So I'm just going to ask you to stay there. We'll figure out what's happening with the tech behind the scenes and then continue the conversation. Lagos, if you've got questions, please give us a call and ask them. 0700-993-993. We also have WhatsApp 080-959-75805 080-959-75805. 805. You can, of course, call us on the line for women only, 01465 7190. 01465 7190. We've got Sam in Lagos Island. Sam, thank you very much for calling us. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Sam. Welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to ask that now, because I used to have, let me say, I have paper accounts for the past 7 or 5 years.
You have what?
Couldn't paper accounts.
Paper. Okay.
Yes, before Flutterwave now. Will I say it merged with them, or they are having a business together? So now I'll be able to use it, I guess. But is it within Africa or anywhere in the world?
Well, that's really for people who are selling here and want to be able to receive money from people outside of Nigeria. So I don't think that's.
And I want to ask, what's the market capital for the market value of Flutterwave.
What's the market value?
Yeah.
Well, it was
Flutterwave.
well, it was valued at over
1 billion.
Yeah.
So how did it get to that range? That's what I really want to know.
Well, were you listening to the
Yeah,
conversation?
I was listening. I was listening to her.
Because she explained it.
But
She told us how.
are they selling shares like right now?
Okay, so the investors paid $170 million for a certain number of shares in Flutterwave. So that means that the investors and Flutterwave have agreed on a share price for the company. If you multiply that share price, no,
I understand.
you can't buy shares there yet.
Okay. Now, just for investors.
Yes, for
Group of
now.
investors.
For now, yes. When they now list,
I understand.
then you can, buy shares if you want to.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Sam. All right, we've got Aloha back on the line now. Aloha, thank you for staying with us. Is tech culture changing investing culture, do you think?
Is tech culture changing investing culture? Tell me what you mean.
It seems like investing is becoming more democratic. It's becoming more inclusive with techniques like crowdfunding. So do you think that that's what's happening here?
Yes, I think for people within the tech space, I think that you're right. There are definitely trends towards much more democratic, much more inclusive investing in tech. Interestingly, the crowdfunding guidelines in the US changed yesterday, 2 days, up to $5 million, I believe it is, through crowdfunding in the US, whereas the previous limit was, I think, just over $1 million, which is really, really interesting. I think there's a bunch of other innovations that, even things, well, I won't go into the details because you said I should keep things up. But there's a couple of other, there's a bunch of other innovations that have meant that even for the fund managers in tech, it has become a little bit easier, one, to become a fund manager, and two, to raise capital. And of course, crowdfunding also means. Now, that's the US. I think those trends, we see them playing themselves out in different ways. We have different variations on those themes that are happening in Nigeria.
All right, let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. You know why? We're out of time completely. I hate that.
Oh, goodness.
I hate that. And Lagos is calling with questions, but Lagos will have to drag Aloha back so that she'll answer all your questions, honestly. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
How do we get out of time so soon when we came back?
Everybody gets vision. Everybody gets vision. Something we go set in motion. Just stay in control like super commando. No go dead or yourself. Super commando. Energy drink where you need on the go. Super commando.
Your daily hustle with Super Commando Energy Drink. Available in plastic bottle, glass bottle, and can. Get energized to keep going all day, every day. Super Commando Energy Drink. Fire on.
Who is this? So, hello?
Now you be the lucky customer where we want dash our Adam's apple olive cream. We go help reduce the size of your Adam's apple. You go flat and saute.
What's the ear no cook here? Ha! If to see I don't get data now, I don't know who they call, no pick 'em.
No matter your phone, whether you get data or not, you sabi what they call. Turn up Kulele Mind with MTN they call. Now 5 naira per day and 15 naira per month. Dial star 5058 hash. Make you enjoy.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Hi there. If anyone ever asked you for your banking app password or PIN, your card PIN, or the 3 numbers on the back of your card, your Pay ID, or answers to your security questions, do not give it to them. These details are private and highly confidential. They must never be shared. Stay smart. Don't lose your money to scammers. This message is from Kuda Microfinance Bank, the bank of the free. Download Download Kuda on the Play Store or the App Store and open an account to enjoy free banking.
You are bold, you are courageous, you are consistent, you fire on despite challenges. You know that in life, it's never how you start, but how you finish. So stay focused and fire on with Super Commando Energy Drink all day, every day. Because you are the hero you have been waiting for.
Fire on and conquer your daily hustle with Super Commando Energy Drink. Available in PET bottle at 100 Naira only, in cans at 150 Naira, and glass bottle at 50 Naira only. Get energized to keep going all day, every day. Super Commando Energy Drink. Fire on.
Good morning, my neighbors. How are you doing?
Who be down for this early moment now?
James, it is I, Johnny.
I beg, I don't get money to borrow you again.
Be calming down. No need for that because I found more ways to make millions this season.
Johnny, my friend, yarn me better.
Forget to, I don't get extra packet from BetKing. We be say if I chop one, it could be like say I don't chop 10.
That's right. You can max out your winnings on BetKing with boosted odds and multiple bonus.
My friend, this is where you differentiate the king from the crowd. Just visit betking.com on any device and see for yourself.
BetKing, playground for kings.
Hey guys, this is your boy Pato Rankin, aka What Best. As World Remit's brand ambassador, I'm here to tell you about receiving money from your fam and friends abroad.
I just can't wait for you to bring your body.
You can